Ready? Good morning. Welcome to the March 4th regular session of Board of Supervisors. Ms. Showalter, roll call please.
Kurtenbach.
Here.
Cleveland.
Here.
Grant.
Here.
Schwartz.
Here.
Hall.
Here. Take a moment of silence to reflect on today's actions. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 1 is the agenda received as proposed or amended.
So moved.
Second. Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Same sign. Motion carries. Item 2 is public comments. These are for remarks on items not on today's agenda. Moving along to number 3, proclamation, Child Abuse Prevention Month.
Good morning. My name is Katie Struve. I'm the clinic administrator at the Allen Child Protection Center here in Waterloo. The Child Protection Center serves 27 counties in northeast and north central Iowa, but we're located mainly here in Waterloo. We assist law enforcement and Iowa HHS with their investigations and assessments of child abuse and dependent adult abuse. In April, we are trying to coordinate with a lot of other agencies throughout our service area to raise awareness for Child Abuse Prevention Month. One of the strategies that we were hoping for is for a proclamation for April to be identified as Child Abuse Prevention Month here in Black Hawk County.
We will read the full proclamation. Whereas children are our nation's most vulnerable members as well as our nation's most valuable resources, helping to shape the future of Black Hawk County. And whereas positive childhood experiences, PCES, like loving caregivers and safe, stable, and nurturing relationships can help mitigate trauma and the negative impact of adverse child experiences, ACES, to promote the social, emotional, and developmental well-being of children. And whereas childhood trauma, including abuse and neglect, is a serious problem affecting every community in the U.S., and finding solutions requires input and action from everyone. And whereas children who live in families with access to concrete economic and social supports are less likely to experience abuse and neglect. And whereas prevention is possible because of the partnerships created between families, prevention advocates, child welfare professionals, education, health, community, and faith-based organizations, business, law enforcement, agencies, and local, state, and national governments. And whereas we acknowledge that in order to solve the public health issue of abuse and neglect, we must work together to change hearts and mindsets through storytelling and sharing, center the needs of families, break down bias and barriers, and inspire action from expected and unexpected partners in prevention. And whereas we are committed to advancing equitable, responsive, and effective systems that ensure all children and families are healthy and thriving. And whereas we recognize the need to prioritize kids and invest in more prevention initiatives like school and community-based child abuse prevention programs and education, home visiting and family strengthening policies, and economic supports at the national, state, and local levels. And now, therefore, I, Tavis Hall, Chairman of the Black Hawk County Board of Supervisors, do hereby proclaim April as National Child Abuse Prevention Month in Black Hawk County and urge all citizens to recognize this month by building a narrative of hope for children and families through collaboration and the creation of an ecosystem of primary prevention that does not currently exist in the country.
We also respectfully ask your permission to put pinwheels around the courthouse or make a little pinwheel garden as we've done in years past. The blue pinwheels are a sign of kind of the symbol for Child Abuse Prevention Month. And we encourage our partner agencies who support that initiative to have pinwheel gardens in solidarity. I know that the police department, the sheriff's office, some mental health agencies around town, and then the courthouse have been involved before, so we'd like your permission to do that as well.
Have you had any correspondence or communication with Roy Gebbing, Facilities Director?
I believe not yet. Not yet. They wanted us to come here and ask your permission first.
I know we've done it the last 2 years for certain, so.
Yeah.
Didn't see anybody, I was gonna say any response from him, I think when we forwarded the information to him as well, so.
Do we need a motion to approve that? Is that just something Rory can approve? I believe we can take a motion.
Yeah, we're gonna,
So moved.
second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Same sign.
Do you guys have anything to put on vehicles, stickers or anything available to?
I'm so glad you asked. We have little blue ribbons that are magnetic that you can put on your vehicle. If you'd like me to bring some for the board, I would love to.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Okay, great. Who would be, should I just drop them off auditor's office or?
Sure, or either one.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Can we get
Thank
a
you.
picture for the proclamation? Oh, I would love that.
I'm glad you recognize me.
Can we do a photo?
One in front.
In front.
Yep.
Aye.
That's the only reason for you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for not
You
leaving
get
me
to
out.
be right in the middle.
Yeah, we put
Oh.
him right.
That's what I hoped would happen tonight.
You didn't plan for this.
All right, 1, 2, 3. 1. Very good, thank you.
Nice to have you again.
Thank you.
All right, item 4, claims and payments. This is a resolution of the Board of Supervisors. Approve expenditures that the county auditor be authorized and direct to issue payments against the various settlements of such claims as allowed.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Ms. Reed?
Good morning, Board. Our total bill payment today is $207,627.90. And the 60/40 fund is $2,663.64. That's a pretty small bill payment for us, and there's really nothing large and unusual in there. So everything appears to be in order unless you have questions.
Got a motion and a second. It's a resolution. Roll call, please.
Brant,
Yes.
Schwartz,
yes,
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
Hall.
Yes. Item 5, receive project updates from department heads and elected officials.
Good morning, Board. Kathy Nicholas, County Engineer. So it sounds like there's going to be some pretty intense weather starting at midnight tonight and then going to at least noon tomorrow afternoon. We are prepared for that. The trucks will be full of sand and salt. We'll be prepared for that. If it's blowing around a lot, the motor graders will probably not be out until the winds subside, if they're needed at all. I wanted to keep you informed about some proposed legislation in the Iowa House. There's a bill in the legislature to allow an engineering firm to act as a county engineer. The current name for this is House File 650. Currently, the bill is alive in the House. It has passed the House Local Government Committee and now requires the entire House to act on it. If it were to pass a House floor vote, then it would be sent to the Senate for them to act. Some of my concerns are that at the county, of course, we are a complete unit. We are the public works side of the house as well as the engineering side of the house together. We're different from cities where they have their own separate departments. We function as one unit, and there are a lot of good reasons why you would want an engineer involved in your maintenance decisions, such as oversized overweight permitting, bridge repairs, pavement preservation techniques. There are a number of reasons why you would want, why it works really well at the county level to have an engineer employed. I just wanted to keep you informed of that. I can send you some more information on it as well and try to keep you updated. If you care to speak to your House members, that would be, beneficial probably for the counties.
Please do.
Can I answer any questions at this time? Griffin would like to say a few things, give you an update.
Morning, Board.
Just a quick update on Gabby did some good work last week and got our 2 items from our last go around here to get approved, and they're on the website and updated, so the public can now view that, have a quick synopsis of reading and of those programs, and they're available for people to start utilizing now on the website, so that's really cool. And then we've had at least two to three people in our pilot area for the living snow fence come back and say that they would be interested in participating in something like that. So that's gaining traction as well.
Awesome. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other department heads or elected officials?
Sure.
You're good.
Yes, hi. Gabby DeWitt, Marketing Coordinator. As an update for the strategic plan process, we will be sending out emails to community members and to take part in 2 community focus groups. That'll be on March 18th. Those emails will go out today, and then there will also be social media posts regarding that. We're looking for about 30 participants at each event, and then also there will be a staff invite that is sent out. And again, we're looking for about 30 to attend that and representative across all departments. So I just wanted you to know that that was going out today. Any questions? Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alright. Move on to minutes approved for the February 25th and 27th meeting.
Need to introduce one,
Yeah,
so moved.
second.
We have a motion and a second to approve February 25th and 27th minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. There's a hearing scheduled, proposed transfer of easement for public highway. Item 8, consent agenda. This is an item, will be acted as a single resolution unless someone from the board or public requests.
Yeah.
item
We didn't draw that.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, this is a resolution, Michelle Walton, please.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Paul.
Yes. Item 9A, resolution of the agreement between Blackhawk County, Railroad Roofing Systems LLC, Cedar Falls, Iowa, for the waterproofing of the roof at the LaPorte Road shop. The total amount of $23,655 be approved and direct the chair to sign for same. Receive and place on file certificate of insurance as recommended by Catherine Nicholas, County Engineer.
So moved.
Second.
I sent you some information on this project. We did budget in FY '25, $250,000 to do some repairs on the LaPorte City shop. At that time, we put the estimate together. We weren't entirely sure what the proper fix should be for this building. It has some insulation that is wet and has continued to fall from the ceiling in the building. We've done quite a bit of research, talking to many vendors about how to resolve this issue. We've decided to break it down into 3 parts. One of the contracts to do the repair in the inside of the building, the shop, would be to put the spray foam insulation. We already proved that. The second step would be to make the exterior of the roof more of a waterproof, watertight roof. We did receive 3 bids on this process. Varying degrees of a type of a fix were submitted by the 3 proposals as well. We decided to go with Raver Roofing Systems for the $23,655. We feel that they are going to provide the best fix for the least amount of money, with a 10-year warranty as well. And then there will be one more component of fixing or improving the problem at this building, and that will be a ventilation contract with a consultant who can do, contractor, who can do a ventilation upgrade. Can I answer any questions?
Kathy, is this pretty much where they're cleaning the roof off and using a spray on it, then just more like painting the sealant
Yes.
on there?
This particular company would acid etch the roof, and then they would caulk the fasteners. If there's any leaking seams, they would caulk that, and then they would spray a coating, a 2-part coating
Okay.
on the roof to waterproof it. And that's why they give us a 10-year warranty, because it should be waterproofed at that point.
So 8 years down the road and all of a sudden they're starting to get a couple of drips, they're gonna come back and then what, respray where the cracks are?
That's what they're saying.
Okay.
We have had good luck now with, we did this similar type of treatment on the salt dome at our main facility,
Okay.
and that has held really well. This particular treatment is not as thick. They put foam on the outside of the salt dome. But we've been pleasantly surprised that these techniques to waterproof, to spray foam, waterproofing, they do seem to be working really well on at least the salt dome. So we're hoping that this will also waterproof that structure.
Okay. You said originally we had 250.
Right, so that came about because of an estimate about 2 years ago. We met with more of an architect who said we should remove all the siding on the roof and the sides, totally remove it all, and re-insulate it and put it back on the building. We went with that as a worst case scenario.
Yep.
And now getting to the fiscal year that we are spending the money in, we've decided that it's much better we don't need to do that extensive of a repair. We do want a 30-year repair, but we decided that it is possible to just do treatments to the roof and then the ventilation in the building, improving that. And then there are a few repairs that we are going to do ourselves to the building.
So then, is there an updated
Estimate?
estimate?
So we're thinking that the total estimate would be probably $90,000 to $100,000. At this point, we've spent about $52,000 if you approve this. We're hearing estimates of about $20,000 for the upgrading the ventilation system. So I guess the cost would be closer to $80,000 to $90,000.
Great. Thank you. Do you have any additional questions? Otherwise, this is a resolution.
I got one.
Yeah.
Kathy, I'm just wondering, would they have like examples of prior work that they've done similar things with other places?
Yeah, the two local companies, and one of them Cedar Falls, they did give us some references for buildings they've done in the area.
And obviously that panned out well for them.
To our knowledge, we haven't investigated a lot of we did
Right.
check with Weber, they're doing that other project for us.
Yeah.
We haven't done an extensive review of all the buildings that they have.
Okay. I was just curious.
We can check more into that.
All right, I don't have a problem calling them either to do a reference check, just to get eyes on it, check it out, see how worthwhile it is. Not that I don't trust your judgment,
Sure.
just like to take a peek at that stuff.
Sure, I can send you some information, or I can give you information, email it, or
Sure, that's fine.
photocopy what we were given.
Yeah, perfect, thank you.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Resolution, roll call please.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Hall.
Yes. 9B, resolution that the lowest responsible bid received by Odin Enterprises, Wahoo, Nebraska, letting held February 25th, 2024 at 9:05 for project L3025 steel material for Hoff Road Bridge with a total bid of $50,988.70, engineer's estimate of $58,650. Be awarded and direct the chair to sign resolution authorizing the county engineer to sign the contract to receive and place on file contractor's bond and certificate of insurance as recommended by Catherine Nicholas, county engineer.
So moved. Second.
So as you know, we did open the bids here last week in the boardroom, that Odin was our only bidder. They are below our engineer's estimate, and we have received a lot of structural steel from Odin over the years, so we feel it's a good time to buy steel. We'd like to get it bought so our county crew, bridge crew, can start working on our next small bridge for Hoff Road that will be built later this summer.
I know.
Yep, that's right.
Do we have a summary motion? Roll call, please.
Leyland,
Yes.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Brant,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Paul.
Yes. Item 10A, this is other business. Motion that the training request submitted by Catherine Nicholas, county engineer, be approved and direct the chair to sign for same $2,100 to attend the 2025 National Association of County Engineers Annual Conference from April 14th through the 18th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
So I would like to attend NACE again. I've been a pretty regular attendee of NACE in the past 10 years. There's a lot of good exchange of information at these conferences. I'm moderating a couple sessions this summer, or excuse me, on this particular conference, so I would like to request to attend.
This is a motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Thanks, Kathy. Item 10B, a hearing for proposed transfer of easement for public highway. Motion to, do we have a motion to receive and place on file proof of publication? Proof of public hearing, as notice was published on February 15th, 2025 in the Waterloo City Falls Courier in accordance with requirements and Code of Iowa, and publication was approved.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Do you have a motion to close the hearing as oral and written comments were received and placed?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same
Aye.
sign. Motion carries.
Written comments.
Any-
No.
All right. Resolution to transfer to the city of Cedar Falls for quit claim deed, Blackhawk County, interest in a certain easement for public highway dated February 20th, 1980, and filed for recording on March 21st, 1980 in book 529 of land deeds on page 338 thereof for $1 and other valuable consideration, and with all costs associated with the transaction borne by the transferee of the real estate, and to allow the board chair to execute all necessary documents to effectuate said transfer.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Otherwise, we'll do a roll call.
I'm getting some eyeballs here.
I just, you might want to come in.
Yeah, just a real quick comment that this is a standard right-of-way easement. This particular property is, or I believe already has been annexed into the city of Cedar Falls, so they're taking it over. We no longer have to maintain it.
How big a piece of property was it?
I don't recall the exact size, I can give that to you, but it's just a stretch of roadway that was formerly considered rural, that's now part of the city, and the city limits.
Okay. That's helpful, thank you, Mike.
What's that?
That's helpful.
Yeah, just that little bit helps.
All right, it's a resolution, motion's been made, roll call please.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Brant,
Yes.
Paul.
Yes. Item 11. Discussion possible board action consideration of all aspects of FY 26 county budget. We'll start with the bond issuance proposal.
Good morning. morning, Maggie. I don't know if I see Kristen online yet.
Yep, I'm here. Yep.
Um, Oh, I think
Oh,
I see Kristen hopping on now too, so.
Yep, I'm here.
Thank you
Good morning.
both for being with us. We have Maggie Berger with Spear Financial and Kristen Billingsley Cooper with Allers and Cooney, who both work with us if we issue bonds. And I thought it might be helpful for them to walk you through the process that we'll be heading into for this year's bond issues.
I don't know, Michelle, do you want me to kind of just give an overview of the general process and then we can open it up for any questions or any information that Maggie wants to add?
Yep, that sounds terrific. Thank you.
Perfect. So hello, everybody. I'm Kristen Cooper from Allers and Cooney, as Michelle mentioned. Just beginning the bonding process with Michelle for this fiscal year. I'll kind of just go through some general steps and feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions along the way. But just kind of in general, the first step in the process is getting the authority under state law to issue the bonds. So that's kind of where we've been at the last couple of weeks, is looking at your list of projects on your CIP list, determining which one of those are eligible to be financed with bonds. And when I say bonds, in this case, we're talking about general obligation bonds, so bonds paid from a tax levy. So we've been going through that list, kind of identifying which ones would be good candidates for being financed with bonds, and then seeing what authority is required under the Iowa Code to go ahead and finance those bonds. And so we've been going through that, and just in a nutshell, for counties, there's fairly limited authority for a lot of the projects, but certain projects that are generally financed by counties would be, roads that promote, economic development, farm to market roads, bridges, that kind of infrastructure, conservation projects, different types of public building projects, either when they fall below certain limits so that you can finance them just with a hearing, or for larger projects, I'm thinking road shops, secondary road shops, the kind of things like that. Those larger ones typically require an election. So here you guys have a fair number of smaller type projects. So we were able to group those into different categories, and then the authorization process for approving those, getting the authority to issue the bonds, is usually a public hearing. You do have to hold different public hearings for each type of project and amount, so it does kind of become a lengthy set of public hearings. You'll see that when we go through the process. You'll probably think, why do we have to hold all these 8 different public hearings? But that's just because of the cap on each individual project under the code. So that's kind of a hurdle. But so we hold the public hearing, fix the date of the public hearing, hold the public hearing, and then you have the authority to go ahead and issue bonds. Historically, the county has gone through a competitive bidding process. So that is a process where you put out an offering document. It's called a preliminary official statement. And I know most of you have gone through this process before, but that preliminary official statement includes a lot of detail about the county. Bondholders that are going to purchase the bonds use that to determine whether they want to purchase the bonds and invest in the county. So we prepare that document. The board approves that, allows its distribution out to the marketplace. Bidders look at that for, Maggie, a couple weeks. Yeah,
And week to 10 days.
Week to 10 days, yeah. And then we have a date that's set for bidding. Underwriters, who are the ones who purchase your bonds, can come in and put in bids. Maggie looks at all those bids, tabulates those, and determines which is the lowest interest cost. And then the board would typically, if they so choose, award that bid to that lowest bidder. And then after that process, there's another step where we actually go through the issuance of the bonds. There's a longer resolution and some certificates that go along with that the board approves. And that's kind of the last part of the process for the board. There is a closing then about 3 weeks after that, where the bonds are exchanged for the funds. And then you have the money in your bank account to go ahead and do the project. So that's kind of just a brief overview, but I'm happy to delve into any of those topics for more discussion.
I think the biggest thing probably is the number of hearings that you're going to see us bring before you. The 8, correct, Kristen?
Yeah, Yeah, and it does get more, for cities, the cap for what we call, so there's essential county purposes and general county purposes. And essential county purpose, the list is pretty short, but you can issue those without any sort of dollar limit on the project unless it's a public building project, and then there is a cap of 1,560,000, I believe. So the cost of the project has to be under that amount, not just the amount that you're bonding for, but the actual cost of the project. So we have to make sure that our amount that we're putting in each of those hearings for those projects is under that cap. And then for general county purposes, the amount is actually quite low. 400, 500. They increased it this year based on the CIP. That was a legislative change from House File 718. So they increased it according to the CIP. So it's a really wacky number. It's like $400,530, I think, for your population. So we have to make sure that all of our groups of those general corporate purpose projects are under that dollar amount, so that we're not giving the authority to borrow more than that amount for any particular project. So, you can certainly hold one hearing for every and have the authority to bond for every project that's under that amount. But, when you have 15 projects that are each, 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, it does get to be a lot of hearings. And that's not uncommon for counties. We see that with counties more so than we'd see for cities. It's just, I think when you see it for the first time, you think, why are we doing this?
You said general purpose was about 400,000, 400.
Yeah, 400,530 if I'm correct.
Yeah, that's right, Kristen. That's
What is it for essential?
1,500.
For essential, there's no cap unless it's that public building. So public buildings are general county purpose unless you fall under a certain dollar threshold that's in the code. And that dollar threshold also was increased as part of House File 717, and it's by population. These are all by population. So your population, 1,560,000. I believe is correct, but for your, and it's important to remember for the public building exception, that's the cost of the project, not just how much you're borrowing for. For a general county purpose, you could borrow for that 400,530, even if the project was $2 million, if you have other funds to make up the gap. Specifically for that public building, as essential, when you're under that dollar threshold, it has to be the total cost of the project. So you can't bond for 1,560,000 when the whole project is 10 million, if that makes sense. It's kind of a wrinkle in the code.
Well, Kristen, I was gonna say, and Michelle, we must have all been kind of thinking the same thing about as far as bond issuance process. And I know a couple of weeks ago, the board had mentioned how we were unfamiliar as it related to Kathy's building and that larger project of the process and understanding what was needed and timelines and that type of thing. And it talked about having a work session with the board, and I reached out to Maggie. So it was just, it's interesting how this all kind of comes about. But I said, reached out to Maggie and asked about having a presentation to the board or doing something to the board. And she mentioned that she would like to sit down with a small group of us and kind of do the Q&A, questions from your side, questions from ours, and whatever, and mentioned Kathy's crew and Michelle and a couple supervisors, and then she, because I said, well, the whole group would want to know this information, and she said after she had that meeting, she thought then she could bring all that to the supervisors and we could all have a better understanding how it related to that. So I don't know if this needed to be two separate conversations, but I thought that definitely the public purpose building with the large cost was something we were very interested in, so.
Yeah, and I think you're right, Linda. We had that conversation. I think that is something that the board is wanting to move forward with, wanting to discuss further, and it does fall out of these parameters like we're talking about for this issuance. So our goal there for a smaller work session is just to get some further information from the engineering department, from Kathy and her team, just so that we can, again, present some good information as to what that looks like, because that probably falls outside of the public hearing realm, and we want to make sure that that we're having a discussion sooner rather than later because House File 718 also put limitations on referendum dates for general obligation bonding. And so we want to definitely make sure we're having that conversation in the right and appropriate time that the board wants to discuss. The other item, oh, sorry,
No,
go
I was
ahead.
just to say, you had thrown out 2 days and dates of next Monday and next Wednesday. Do those still work for you as possibilities? And then we can kind of powwow here and get back to you maybe later today even with what that would be?
Yes, they do. My only commitment on Wednesday is I have a 1:00 meeting. That should only take about 30 minutes. So yes, Monday and Wednesday, the 10th and the 12th of March, do still work for me. So just let me know.
So, thanks very much.
Yeah.
Thank you,
The
Kristen.
one thing I wanted to add to that, because I think it's important, as Kristen was running kind of through the list of essential, the other items that's essential that does not have a limitation is the acquisition and installation of peace officer communication equipment and other emergency services equipment and systems. So that's a public hearing that this board and that the county has used fairly regularly as a means to funding 911 emergency services type projects and purchases. And we do see some on that list for this year. So I just wanted to point that out, that is one that years ago the legislature made essential, and we're thankful for that. And so we do have that one on the list as well as a public hearing for this borrowing itself.
It's also important to keep in mind that those general county purposes are subject to the potential of a petition. So if you do get a petition signed by 10% of the votes cast at the last general governor or presidential election, then you would have to either abandon the project or go to a vote for that. So, looking at your list of projects, I wouldn't expect any of those to be controversial or generate, a petition, but it depends on your community. We don't see petitions very often. In 15 years of doing this, I think I've seen a handful. So it's not very common, but it is a possibility.
Yeah.
Is there more of this being done because of the 350 cap issues, I guess, over the last couple of years? That we've had a hard time. Michelle, you probably had that conversation with them, but as far as us meeting that 350 cap.
Yeah. I guess I would say that there are probably more counties looking to bond for projects to get them out of their, other funds and move those to debt service than maybe there have been in the past. I don't know, Maggie, if you have a feel for that too.
I would agree with Kristen on that. I think that counties are looking at ways to fund projects, and let's be honest, projects have grown in size. And so just having the cash availability to do some of these projects has led more counties to borrowing. We've discussed with Michelle over the last year or so that I don't believe Blackhawk County is someone that needs to borrow every year. So what we're trying to do is put together a program where, you're aligning projects in years that you actually want to borrow money. And then we're taking years off where we don't need to borrow any money, right? Because we've sort of aligned and lumped together because, Kristen and I get paid for what we do. And we want to make sure that, the county is just not every 6 months or every 8 months or every 9 months, because we're not planning ahead, is going out and borrowing money. That to us just instills that there's a lot of cost of issuance being paid. So we want to definitely lump things together, and I think you've done a great job of that. This will be a nice size bond issue for the county. Just as we normally do, it'll be a normal process for us. Like Kristen said, competitive sale. We'll have a Moody's rating as part of it where Michelle and probably one supervisor will get on a phone call with the analyst. We've seen some great results. We had a bond sale yesterday for a county and had fantastic results. We had 12 bidders competitively, which was great. We had great low interest rates in today's market. We'll say they're comparatively low. So I think, timing, we're at a good time, and it looks like you have a good amount of projects to sort of carry that cost of issuance.
Thank you.
What's the timeline look like that we have to have the hearings for bonding? Is it before April?
So you'd want to have the hearings in this case, done before April 14th, because you are, I believe, doing a pre-levy. So when you want to borrow, or at least put on in your budget an amount to be paid in fiscal year 26, we need to have the authority to do kind of a mini issuance and then file that resolution with the county by April 14th, before April 15th. And that allows you to put a number in your budget to levy for fiscal year 26, even though we haven't formally issued the bonds yet. So that's kind of the timeline for the hearings. And then after that, it really just depends on when you need the money. And we can back up the timeline from there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and Michelle and I have talked. I mean, we'll work out a timeline for the sale of bonds. It's a pretty easy, kind of every couple of weeks, there's a step that gets taken when the bonds, for about a 6-week period there. And so we'll talk and determine if those bond proceeds need to be received in fiscal year 25 or if those bond proceeds need to be received in fiscal year 26. Michelle will be your expert on that. And so she'll work with us and we'll put together a timeline for the other actions that happen after those public hearings, because once we have the authority, then we can move through the bond sale anytime as sooner rather than later, whatever needs the county has.
Any other questions? Well, we've got the experts.
No, I think we can talk to see who's interested and available to meet either Monday or Wednesday. Shoot an email across and get that set up.
Yeah, I'll do that. I was gonna bring it up at the end of the meeting, but I can shoot the email out and get a response. Get back to Maggie so she can do it and we can all be on the same page. Yeah.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Yep.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.
You too. Okay. Next, I'm just going to you can go ahead and switch that, if you would, please. Quick update. Took a few steps backward yesterday. Hope I got us back on track this morning. So I did email forms out to you last night that you should disregard. I have distributed printed copies of ones this morning. And Chris, I did email during the meeting, so if you are looking on your phone, you might have it now.
Okay, thank you.
So I have tried to incorporate all the adjustment choices that we have made up to this time. And we now have our general fund gap, if you will, to get under the 350 levy limit. We're now at about 200,000 is all that's left for that. So that when we do that, that will bring and I've also adjusted the rural levy a little bit too for all the changes we made in where we're assigning salaries and a few other things, the maintenance for the sheriff's vehicles. We have now moved some of that to the rural levy. And just a reminder, I have incorporated a payment on this bond issue that Maggie and Kristen were speaking of. I have incorporated a first year payment, so we will be bringing you documents. I believe they will be on next week's agenda to start the hearings for the pre-levy. And that is just for the projects that we discussed in 25 and 26, nothing further than that. So right now, our total property tax askings are at a total increase of 5%, and that is in collections. So we're increasing the total that we're requesting from taxpayers. That will translate into, and these numbers really haven't changed very much. For a residential urban taxpayer, that's an increase of 4.21%. Commercial 2.2, industrial 2.08, residential rural is at 3.36% increase, and agricultural properties are at a 3.89% increase. How does that compare to last year?
It is higher, I think I brought that in here, I can send it out. I think last year was maybe about 2% increase in collections, I believe, but.
Except for commercial was like way out of whack last year.
Way,
That was,
yeah.
that's a state.
Yeah, I don't mean those, yeah.
That was because of changes in assessed value, so it wasn't really anything that we necessarily did, other than we are asking for taxes to fund our budget.
I mean, the percentage increases though were quite a bit low.
Yeah, I can get that over you. The budget adjustments that, I believe these are all the things we've already spoken about. Did have a bit of a correction to make on, let's see if I got the right one. Nope, I think that is the right one. A little bit of adjustment in salaries. I might have to resend that, I hope I sent you the right one. Okay, where to let me see it? All right, I got that saved with the wrong name, but it's, we have about, again, the 200,000 gap. That shows you the change in each levy with pennies, and I don't know why I can't retrieve it right now, but I can get that to you too. That's just where we're standing today. So I may make some further tweaks. There's some things I was working through last night and this morning. Sometimes unanticipated things happen when you try to change salaries, so I just want to get that a nice bow on it before I upload the rates tomorrow, just in case I need to increase that hurdle rate. I don't, likely would not be any impact to the general fund, because anything we change in there is not changing the 350. There's a possibility the general supplemental could go up, but I don't expect it to. So, and I will send that out to you before I do that. So.
And again, this is the maximum proposed
Correct.
levy too. So
Yes.
it's like,
Yeah.
there are some people that get uncomfortable when they see that.
Yes, you have, I will need to, well, maybe we should jump to that now. I'll need to work on the total budget and getting uploaded to the state with expenses next week, so that we, this week and next week, so that we can get that published in time to have our maximum hearing. And let's just talk about those dates. If we could do that hearing April 1st, everyone planning to be available on April 1st? And it has to be a separate meeting, but we can do it the same day as our board meeting, so I would suggest we start out at 9 o'clock with that hearing. Probably only be a few minutes, right? And then we'll adjourn that and then hold our regular meeting. Make sure that date
Yep.
fits everybody's calendar.
Sounds like a good plan.
I'm sorry, Chris?
I said that sounds like a good plan.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Then our budget adoption hearing. We need 3 or 4 weeks in between those two to actually get everything done. So, it has to appear in the paper 10 years prior, 10 years. Feels like I've been working on this budget for 10 years. 10 days before the hearing, and the paper is wanting at least 6 business days now, and now would actually like more. I think it's a difficult time for them when they get so many of these. These are large publications, and when all the cities and everyone has to put them in at the same time, that can make it difficult for them. So they want at least a week to publish. So I will need to have that ready to go, depending when we decide. I think now, I would prefer if we could do that on Monday, April 21st. I know that's not a normal meeting day, but they thought it might work better just to do it separately and waiting. I previously suggested Thursday the 17th, but I pick up another day of publication for the paper if we can wait until Monday the 21st, if everyone's gonna be in town.
It's Easter weekend, as long as
Oh,
everybody's
is
in
it?
town.
I didn't even know that.
I'll be here on the 21st, and I'm on an airplane on the 22nd for a meeting time, so
Oh.
I'll invite everyone through that.
Did you plan on the 9 o'clock or something like that, or just any time?
I guess that's up for discussion too, if there's, if a different time of day works better, that would be fine. I honestly did not realize that was Easter weekend, so if people are out of town and want more time, we can.
No, I just wanted to make sure.
It makes no
nobody
difference to me, I'm fine with 9 o'clock on the 21st. Anybody, Chris, are you good with 9 o'clock
Yep.
on April 21st?
Yeah, 9 o'clock that Monday is great.
Justin?
I have an appointment at 9:30.
Oh.
That if I move, we'll probably get moved somewhere down the, later in the year.
Yeah, let's not,
Well, we
we
can
can adjust
do a
it.
different time. It was
I'm wide
21st.
open that day,
Yeah, does
so
the
it's-
21st work for another time?
Other than that, I'm completely free.
11 a.m. be better?
Even 10 would be fine.
10 a.m.?
Yeah, 10 is good. The only thing I see so far is a 12:30 meeting, so 10 is great.
Okay, 10 a.m. on the 21st.
Okay, so we have Linda and Rich, that both work for you too?
Yep.
Okay, so
21st at 10.
we'll assume that will be Monday, April 21st at 10 a.m.
Yep.
Okay, all right, thank you very much for that. All right, so the only other thing I would have is if you're interested in, doing a detailed review of capital projects, we could work on that, or if you have other suggestions or things that you want to change in the budget, we can discuss those.
I know last week Nate wasn't able to be here when we were talking about the sheriff's vehicle maintenance and everything, and the changes over to rural and that type of thing. So we were I wanted to especially hear from you, and speak to the whole board, but.
I guess I'm not sure exactly what you're asking, I know.
So, yeah, Michelle, you wanna recap kind of what?
So I think many of the supervisors have suggested, since we're charging 80% of the rural deputies to the rural fund, and if you recall, last year we did commit to beginning to charge a portion of vehicle fuel to the rural fund. And so one of the supervisors had mentioned, well, if we're charging fuel, shouldn't we also charge a similar portion of maintenance? So I'm proposing that we move 40,000 of the maintenance costs to rural, but I think Linda especially wanted to make sure you were comfortable with that.
Right, I mean, I think logically, obviously, that tracks, that's where the miles are being driven, and especially one thing I know sometimes as a county, we can be a little bit harder on cars because, we're not running around in town, we're running at high speeds across the county, and whether we're hitting deer or just causing engine issues because we're going at high speeds for longer periods of time, that probably tracks. Again, for me personally, I kind of try and stay out of, I tell you what I need for money and I let you guys decide where it comes from, that's kind of your role, I stay in my lane, but I think you can easily justify that, and I think it tracks.
You can go play in our sandbox every once in a while.
Well, it seems pretty crowded in there. I'll stay in mine. But it certainly tracks, there's definitely logic behind it, so I think if anyone questioned you on it, you'd certainly be able to justify it, that if the bodies are out in the county and the cars are out in the county and the fuel's being used in the county, then the maintenance issues are probably being created out in the county.
And that was really more or less what I wanted to hear from you, since it's an impact on your department, and you'd be the one probably asked about it more than anybody from the rural, rather even than us. Sometimes you're out in the front lines. But if any of our departments were gonna make changes in their budgets, or in this regard, I guess, charging other people for those expenses, we wanted to just be able to be justified in our position, but we wanted to know you felt that as well, not where we were countering something with the sheriff and saying,
No, I appreciate you asking on that, and again, like I said, I think it's pretty easily defendable and pretty easily justifiable, but that's ultimately your decision to make.
Sure, yeah, I knew that's what you were saying, but it was just like still to hear from input from you. So appreciate you being here today.
Yes, absolutely.
Anybody else have a question? Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I need a minute to pull up last year's property tax rates and what we did. So a year ago, urban residential properties taxes increased 1.31%, And that's even with the substantial increase in assessed valuations that we had last year. The rural residential, oops, I just went too fast. Also had an increase of 1.31%. I'm sorry, 6.14%, gotta get on the right thing here. They had a large increase, partly due to, again, assessed valuation increases. Commercial actually had a very large one last year, 23.14%. Again, that was due to the reassessment and the rollback things that happened. And industrial property increased 3.07. Agricultural property actually fell last year, 2.83. So this year, much more similar across all property types. And while they are increases, certainly no extremely large ones for any one category.
That was good. Residential was, like I said, 4% sounds small until you know it was 1% last year.
I don't necessarily consider the 4% small, but it's what we have right now,
Yeah.
without making changes.
So that one you sent to us that you just had up on the screen?
I have not yet, but I
Okay,
can. I'll send it
Awesome.
after the meeting.
And then when can we make other decisions, Michelle? Like I said, I think we've got to the max levy now, so we can enter that information and have that available. And not to confuse, I guess, the public as well as us going forward. If there are things that we want to decide or make some decisions on, whether it's capital or whatever, when do we have to make those decisions? What's that timeline for you?
As soon as you're ready to
Anytime.
discuss it. Yeah, I mean, even today would be fine. We can draw that line in the sand and say we're gonna publish what we've already discussed. But we could go ahead and talk about any other changes that you wanna do. As I said, I will have to publish very soon though.
Yeah.
So if we want to have our publication be what you adopt, we would need to we'd need to work on that right away. Otherwise, you don't have to make them until that second hearing in April.
That's the last date to make them, is what you're saying at that hearing.
Yes.
You'd like to know before quite a bit.
Because, yes.
We can't surprise, but yeah.
Well, the thing is, so if you direct changes at that date, you won't necessarily walk out of that hearing with the tax rates because I'll need to make sure those are right. And those have to be uploaded to the state by April 30th, so that's why I'm thinking the sooner we can do them, the better, but.
So your drop dead date would be maybe April 14th, or would it be April, sooner than that?
Okay, so they won't be in the publication if we wait till April 14th, but yes, that would work.
The yellow highlighted stuff on the potential adjustments, that's what we've already decided on, and that's what's gotten us down to the 207
Yes.
for dipping into the reserves?
Yep.
Okay, so can we knock out the rest of the ones that aren't highlighted today?
Actually, I was just highlighting every other line to help you read it from
Oh,
us.
sure.
So you have done now, I believe, everything that's on that worksheet, and let me try to.
I was gonna say, I thought we had those all covered last
Okay,
week.
okay.
Maybe that wasn't, the highlighting wasn't the best way. When I used underlines, it looked really
Rather than a
colored,
grid.
so it was hard to.
I should have brought the one from last week and it's on my desk.
Well, I have changed a couple of those numbers since last week from trying to fine tune some of the salaries, which will be a little bit more of that fine tuning to go on yet, but.
Could you point those out so we can note them on these copies maybe, or?
That should.
I mean, the ones that wouldn't have been on last week that you changed, you said that you went ahead and changed?
Well, I'd have to go back and look. Item 27 is new.
New, okay.
And I added the health, increasing the health revenue.
20.
So maybe 25, 26, and 27 may all be new.
That needs a
What?
13, the vehicle maintenance.
That is on here too.
Yeah.
that would be another one that wasn't.
Before
That we had.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
That meant just so we didn't have to go back and forth with the list and check, thanks.
Yeah, I try to kind of have this be cumulative, I guess.
Yeah. Anything
No.
on that end of
It's
the.
better adjustments, we need an action on adjustments, just to,
Oh,
I'm good with it.
good, yeah, I'm okay, if you want to do, if everybody's okay with just doing that today or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to point out something.
Yeah.
That puts us at $3.46, right, for the levy rate?
The general basic,
Yep.
yes.
And that's still 24 cents below, I think, state average.
Well, that's, we would be at the 350 for that,
Right.
except that because of the assessed property valuation growth, they limited us there. So your total urban rate is 563, I think. That might be what you wanna compare.
Okay.
I don't know what rate you're looking at right now, but that just doesn't sound.
Yeah, you're right. I was
Okay.
looking at general basic.
Yeah.
Um,
You have to fill that bucket before you can start using the general supplemental.
Back to the bucket.
I know, I like that bucket. It's just in my head, you can fill it up to 350 and then you move to the next one.
I'm ready to kick it.
As long as you're talking about the bucket.
Glad you said
I can say it.
Repeat again next year. Do you wanna take action on the ones that we did today or not? I mean, it
I'm
doesn't
fine
matter.
with I'm fine too.
Does that help, Michelle?
Sure.
You helpful?
I think you could just, don't you have a sheet? Yeah, and doesn't it go to?
It's on
That's-
27.
It's on
Okay, that's the sheet. I think you could just say, and I have it on the screen now.
Yeah.
I think you could just adopt all the adjustments on that sheet. An easy way to do that.
We have a motion to approve the FY 26 budget adjustments. So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Very good. We have interest in going through some of the capital today. We'll knock some of that out. We want a relatively brief meeting.
Yeah.
I know we got all afternoon too.
Well, I don't need, I was just suggesting, take a look at the list over the weekend and come back Tuesday if we have things that we wanna knock out or specifically. Unless anybody's got them down. No, I don't. And anybody's capital, any more like questions or thoughts? Rory, you talked about security, that's a neutral.
It'd be a neutral if we ended up hiring a deputy.
Even that was because of our contract, so you weren't looking for anything in that.
No, I think worst case scenario would be neutral. Best case would be a slight savings if we went with a civilian.
I'd like to see the total budget because we are dipping into project fund balances to keep that, even if it's neutral, so.
Okay, so I just wanna clarify too, if we're taking that over,
Yeah,
to keep it neutral, if and when this does happen, that's pretty much losing the deputy wandering the courthouse. With 3 officers, I can keep that front maintained. If you still want a presence in the courthouse, that's probably gonna cost you an extra line to get to 4, which obviously is gonna take you above and beyond what you're paying security for. So just you guys have to kind of decide what you want and let me know on that.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind polling employees myself. My thinking was having a hard front line at the building, perhaps there's no reason to have somebody wandering.
And that could be, I mean, obviously, I don't spend much time over here, so I don't have the feel nearly as well as you guys or anybody else. But
If
you guys
anybody
kind of tell me
feels-
what you need and try to make it happen, just, I'm
Yeah.
not trying to push it one way or the other, say it's not a project I'm really too keen to take on, but if the feel the courthouse and the public feels safer with us doing it, then obviously I'm on board with doing it, but I'm certainly not out of here lobbying to do it, but, you guys have to let me know what you want.
Yeah.
And give you some time to get my staffing back up and stuff and get there.
Yeah, we knew that was gonna take you a while too.
But
We're just kind of
just to
looking
make
at
sure you're
budget.
aware that to keep it at the cost neutral point, you're probably not gonna have that extra body, so.
I would like.
This is,
I just want to say one thing real quick. If anybody listening objects to what I was thinking, by all means, contact me, let me know. I just want to make sure the employees and I are on the same page. Besides going to the departments and asking them, I don't know how else to do it, but I'd like to hear from them, because the whole idea is, A, keep the public safe, and obviously make the employees ensure that they have a safe work environment too, so.
Public and staff.
Yeah.
Employees and, yeah.
This is Chris. I just want to say I agree with Supervisor Brandt that the hard front line is the most important part of it. I think it's pretty lax right now. I witness a lot of, oh, I know you can go through that kind of nonsense that I want to see an end to.
Yeah, and I just wanted, this is Rory, giving Facilities Director. I also wanted to remind you also that we have a panic button system here at the courthouse. So as far as having deputies wander the building, I think with the 3 deputies down there would be more than sufficient, and then utilizing that panic button system to get attention if needed. So.
My only concern in not having the roaming is if something's going on with the courtrooms, the extra, whether it's minutes at that point.
Yeah, the original, the roaming wasn't the original intent to have the guards over here to begin with. That just kind of happened because there was several complaints and having 2 deputies down in the lobby along with our security staff. And so I think at some point there was a decision made to get those folks moving. So the original intent was just to have that armed officer here on site. So yeah, I think by just adding 1 additional guard, even on slow times, we could still take that 3rd person and probably do rounds if we needed to. There's days that we only have 2 from our security guards down there, and we get by. So I think if we had 3 county staff, I think we're gonna get better ownership, buy-in. And again, I think if we had to pull 1 person off to do a round, or they had to go to a courtroom, I think we just take that case by case.
I was hoping we could use 1 civilian officer as well on that.
And that's definitely an option too.
And we should be able to, but just to kind of reiterate too, with the 3 people, there's still more than likely only gonna be 2 at most times, because you've got, what, about a 10.5 hour day, so already you're down to 2 on that. 1 starts early, 1 comes middle, 1 works late. By the time we take all 3 people getting their lunch breaks and everything else out of there, it's gonna take 3 people to keep 2 down there, so we're not gonna have much. And Brian just kind of mentioned me too, part of this came from an incident that did happen in a courtroom with 1 of his employees. So there's definitely something to be said for having that extra body roam the courthouse. And an incident like that wasn't because somebody snuck something past them at the front gate. It's because they went off in a courtroom that was with an inmate that we weren't guarding, I think. So just kind of keep in mind, I won't say any more on.
Yeah, I mean,
You were more involved with that than I was.
yeah, the issue, juvenile cases for one, because you're not gonna have people in custody generally, and those can be the most tense. FED, so evictions, just had a guy screaming yesterday, those get really contentious. And then we just had a guy a week and a half ago sneak, before he got to the metal detector, snuck in the back, went around to court administration area. Certainly scared them considerably. So, I mean, to your point, that, and this is in the back of my mind too, is the courtrooms. I know people on 3rd and 4th feel more comfortable with a deputy kind of roaming. We can get them to roam a little bit more, but there's certainly an advantage to that.
I'm not opposed to having a 4th, whatever you think is best. I know that puts more hardship on you though, right?
Well, obviously it puts more hardship on the board for hiring that person to be over
Right.
here, and then for me to make sure we've got the staffing to do it.
Yeah.
To me, it makes more sense to have that extra person monitoring. And this isn't my push, I guess if you're asking me to do it, I would prefer to go with 4, so I have
Okay.
more times than not one person monitoring the courthouse. I think especially since it's been the last couple of years, we've had people doing this 2 or 3 years now, however long it's been. I'm guessing most of the employees have kind of gotten accustomed to having that presence around them.
Right.
It's mostly, mostly positive feedback on it. I guess if I'm gonna be in charge of securing the courthouse, I prefer to have not only the people up front, but also
Okay.
monitoring the courthouse.
But it could again be a mix of civilian deputies.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know, maybe we talked about retirees, but I'm not sure if that's even an option or you want to
Say, getting into reserves, there's a whole certification process for them and then finding if they wanna do it or not. It's not something I've actually really entertained too much, and I think it is different to take a retiree and make them a reserve officer. It's a lot less process because they've already had the training. To try and just bring in somebody out the street to be a reserve officer, there's several modules through the academy that they still have to go through, and it's still well over 100 hours of training that they have to go through, so that would be a pretty max effort to get them in here yet.
I offer my help in any way, shape, or form that you need it to explore the
Get your
process.
uniform on.
That's what I was
Yeah.
gonna say. Sounds like you're gonna be roaming.
No, I appreciate that, so
I'm sold.
Yeah.
again, the big thing is you guys have to tell me what you want, and then we'll work on how to make it happen.
You get to know the courthouse better. Oh, yes, so you can work through that.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Nate.
Another.
Well, yeah, we can all sort of pour through capital, and next week, hopefully come and if we've got
If
specifics.
there's not, there's not, but if there's anything anybody wants to question or ask anybody to.
So it's basically just this year's that we're concerned about, the ones that were planned out in the next 5 years.
Do you have questions on the next
I
one?
mean, I think
I asked my one already with Mike, but I think it was one, no, it was a couple weeks ago I asked that question, he answered it, it was, I think it had to do with the bridge or something, it was like, what that was like in 2029, was that concerned?
Oh, you mean as far as explaining what it was, because it was new?
Yeah, I think
But mostly just this one for budget.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
the only thing to maybe think through, depending on the department, right, is if your intent is to kick a project to the following year, and that following year has a higher number, right, like, they're gonna start to become this deferred decision, the water impacts, so. I was trying to not say it, but yeah.
I know, I tried not too loudly. Kick the can down the road.
Very good. Michelle, do you need anything, else from us today?
Not unless you have other ideas of things you wanna change.
All right, well, we'll move on to item 12, any reports or information from the board.
I just let folks know that, part of outreach to the rural areas, I am attending 2 of the township meetings this evening. And hope to be attending more, just, more outreach with our rural areas. And then we have a meeting that the Farm Bureau is asking for us to meet with them.
Yeah, I was gonna ask
Next
that
Monday.
question, the March 10th at 6 PM. So it was, I mentioned to Justin this morning, I think I talked to you yesterday, it was like, we need to post it if there's at least 3 or more of us that would be attending. That's what we've always done before, when we know that. There have been sometimes when it's been 1 or 2 supervisors. So I don't know if everybody's thought about it, considering it, wants to go or not.
I've got a conflict at 6, I don't know, I'm out.
Chris, I didn't know for sure about your schedule, but thought we needed to at least ask.
This is the Farm Bureau meeting?
Yes.
No, I will not be there.
Okay, but if 3 of us, we think 3 will be possibly, then we'll just post it anyway, and then if it's not, yeah, okay, does that work? Okay, that's March 10th at 6.
Correct.
I'm just repeating
And
that. Kathy usually goes, I know Michelle always does. They listed P and Z in their email, and I thought we'd just ask them what questions they might have for P and Z because we pay those people. for their hourly rates, so unless there was something specific, we probably wouldn't invite them. We never have before, but doesn't mean it can't be a first time, but. Okay.
Very good.
And then the Maggie dates, like I said, she was March 10th from 12 to 4, or Wednesday, the 12th from 9 to 1, so if that's, but just for two of us, no more than two, probably just to sit in on that Q&A. That's all right. I didn't know if you wanted to. I know you mentioned. I didn't know Justin's schedule.
I work with Maggie on another issue too, so.
Did you need to be for the Q&A part? I mean, really want to be?
There, Davis?
I can be on the 10th, I cannot be on the 12th.
Anytime in the 12 to 4? Or did you say a certain time?
Closer to 4 would be ideal.
We'll see.
8 o'clock.
And we'll check with other staff and stuff, because primarily I said it needs to focus around, make sure they're available. Justin, did you have a?
Yeah, well,
That's
excuse
okay.
me, the 10th and 12th, I would not be able to.
Okay, well, that makes it easy, so
Yeah.
thanks. So we'll just go with.
The 10th,
And I'll
the
send
10th
an
at 3
email.
o'clock.
Well, I'll see. Like
Fingers
I said.
crossed.
Yeah, okay, we'll just go and see.
Just let me know.
All right, I'll send out an email to everybody though, and kind of, so we're all on the same page, okay.
All right.
This is Chris. I'll just add I'll be back in town tomorrow and then Thursday evening at 6 o'clock at the Hawkeye Van G. Miller Learning Center. I've organized a public forum on the local impacts of federal funding cuts and freezes and firings and how that's reverberating through the Cedar Valley.
That's at the Van G. Miller Center?
Did you say at 6 at VGM?
Yep, that's right. 6 o'clock at the downtown Hawkeye location.
Tonight.
Thursday. All right. Unless there's other report from the board, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 That was a-
What?